This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. I know not everybody agrees with me. Some do, some don't.
I think a lot on the chat line do.
I don't know if I would want this. I don't know if this is fair to them. I'm not looking to hang because I think it would only be negative questions because I don't think anybody ever would ask about a good play. If coaches and players have to speak to the media in post-game press conferences to discuss their decisions and performance, then officials should have to speak to the media too. I don't agree with that. There is for big games, there's, and I say big games, I mean like, NCAA tournament and things along those lines. There are times when you'll have a pool reporter where you'll have one reporter that will represent the media, and that person will get to ask an umpire or a referee or somebody along those lines. And I think that's enough. But I'm not for putting those guys up on the dais per se.
I just think that the Big 12 would be promoting their failures if they would do these kind of things, make public comments. I just don't. I don't think that would be smart business by the Big 12.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to do that, I don't think it can just be the Big 12. I think it's got to be across the college landscape or the professional landscape.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for the Big 12, they have the reputation as having the worst officiated, refereed leagues in the country. So. Well, see, and that goes back to what the commissioner said, during the college football playoff about, calling out, plays involving, Arizona State and in their games. So it's like, okay, so I guess he was just being a fan then when he was doing that. When he was complaining about sticking up for one of his teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're on the shoes on the other foot. You got your athletic director sticking up for your team, which is great. I appreciate that.
Nobody's against that.
Yeah, no. But, I mean, you got the commissioner now kind of hiding like Puxatawny Phil. I guess we're never going to, he's gone out and seen his shadow and said, I don't think we should go talk about that. But you made a good point in the break about the fact that Kirby wasn't fined. Probably says all we need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, when you said we didn't hear anything, and my response was, that's probably good news. That probably says all you need to know is that they believe he was right.
Yeah. This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Chuck, Texas Tech won the game. Maybe without that call, you don't. I think there's something to be said for that. Let's look at the standings and upcoming games. Please just let it go, bro.
Rhymed.
I know. I really like that.
There.
Let it go, bro. That's not even Scott, who's in the middle of the ocean somewhere, already drinking mimosas. Probably.
We need to.
Just watching the world go by. Not even watching the world go by. Watching the waves go by.
Sounds like a podcast we need to have for Rob Bro.
Yeah. Let it go, bro. I could be an occasional guest on that podcast because I'm probably one of those ones that has a tendency to hang on to things more than maybe others. Do you feel like you do a good job of letting go of stuff?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
I mean, I don't think I do the best job of that.
Yeah, no, I'll let things linger in my head.
Yeah.
Rent-free, all the above.
I do. If I have a beef with somebody, if I tell you that it's settled, then it's settled. But I have to get to that point. Like, okay, it's done, it's settled. Okay, but if I tell you, I'm not going to come back to you 15 years later and go, remember that time where you stole that piece of pizza from me? I'm still mad about that. I'm not hanging on. If I've already said I'm mad about you stealing the piece of pizza, then. But I'm usually pretty good about that. I'm sure there are procedures in place that take account for such incidents, and that takes time. I'm sure there are numerous incidents each week in such a big conference. Yeah, I'm sure you're right about that. Let's see. Somebody wants to know my scorecard when I lose an account. So in that vein, when you lose a customer for Raybar, we are entitled to know that too, right, Chuck? Nobody cares about that. Somebody says that's a ridiculous comparison. Chuck's sales wins losses is not a nationally televised event.
Well,
although
you guys don't know out there, Chuck never loses.
Although I'd watch that. No,
Chuck only gets rid of clients. They don't drop him. Like, I don't have time for you. I'm going to somebody bigger. Bigger accounts.
No. Everybody's important.
Chuck doesn't lose. He's undefeated. He's like karma.
So untrue. It's pretty much like a baseball. If you're hitting 300 in that little world, you're doing pretty good. Okay. And I'm really not hitting. Just ask my bosses. Trust me, it ain't never enough. Which is, I get it. That's the deal. That's the job. 6:37 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to WT973.com for that, or the mobile app. There's other things in the sports world we'll get to as well, and including other games in the Big 12 tonight, as it's Super Tuesday, right?
Yeah, and one last night where, Iowa State continues to tumble. The Jayhawks just put it on them.
Yeah, they looked. Kansas looked better last night. 69-52 was the final. But yeah, you're right. Iowa State couldn't shoot to save their soul last night.
That felt like one loss that led to two losses.
Okay.
That's what it kind of felt like.
They were 19 of 62. They were 3 of 21 beyond the arc and 11 of 20 from the free throw line. So you could put pressure on them, they'd miss, or you could put them on under the spotlight at the free throw line, and they would miss as well. Kansas probably should have won by more. Probably should have been ahead by more at certain times in the game. But they were 26 of 55, 47%, 9 of 18 from 3, 50%, and hit their free throws last night in that win at Allen Fieldhouse. So that was your big Monday game from last night. In addition to Texas Tech and Baylor tonight in the Big 12, you'll have Oklahoma State at number 5 Houston. It'll be interesting to see how the Cougs respond to their loss on Saturday.
I wouldn't want to be playing for Oklahoma State right now.
Nope.
I would imagine they'll be pretty fired up.
Right. Were you surprised Houston only dropped 2 spots to 5?
Dropped? I thought they were 6th.
Oh, I guess they went up a spot. Yeah, you're right. They went up a spot.
I was surprised to see them go forward.
Yeah, sure.
Shows how much respect they have for us, I guess. They took them to overtime at home.
Right. The 2 state schools will play tonight. Kansas State plays at Arizona State. And then number 20, Arizona, plays at the Marriott Center tonight. They take on BYU. That'll be late tonight, 10 p.m.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Today is February the 4th, 2024. Here is Jeff McGuire.
Going to start us off in 1952. Jackie Robinson becomes the first African-American executive of a major U.S. TV and radio station as Director of Community Activities at Radio WNBC New York and TV station WNBT.
WNBC. Yeah, that was big time.
1969, John Madden is named the head coach of the NFL's Oakland Raiders. 1987, Sacramento Kings score only 4 points in the first quarter against the Lakers.
Wow.
It is the fewest points in a period since the introduction of the 24-second shot clock in 1954.
Wow.
What do you think about the NBA thinking about going to 10 minutes in a quarter? Do you care?
Don't think too much about it. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have an issue with it.
Okay.
No?
Some people have said, good, that gets the games over sooner. But
yeah, but it would. That would always obviously affect all their records and
sure it would.
All that kind of stuff.
Sure it would. It'd be weird.
It would.
In 1995, in a 107-88 win, Texas Tech's Jason Sasser scores 36 points against TCU. He will duplicate the feat a month later in Fort Worth. 1997, Mario Lemieux is the 7th NHL player to score 600 goals. And in 2019, Chuck Heinz' favorite, Brandon Francis, scores 16. And the number 18, Texas Tech Red Raiders, holds West Virginia without a field goal for 15 minutes in an 81-50 home rout.
Love that.
It is National Stuffed Mushrooms Day.
Out.
Depends on what they're stuffed with.
Jamie?
No, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was more polite. I just said out. With, Jamie said no, thank you.
I like mushrooms.
I don't care for that.
Happy birthday to Alice Cooper, who is 77.
That's shocking that he made it that long.
Alice Cooper?
Yeah.
Are you confusing him with...
Nope. The singer, right?
No, yeah. No.
Is that what you would consider singing? Is that
Alice
what he's
Cooper?
doing?
School's out for summer. Yeah, they're singing in there a little. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not performing an opera here, but that is singing.
Okay, fair enough.
I think there's some hard times.
The Rolling Stones guy. Why can't I think of his name?
Mick Jagger?
Not Mick Jagger. The guy that's already dead. Like he's walking around and he looks like a dead guy. Why can't I think of his dang name?
I don't know.
I'll look it up in a minute. The chat line may actually very help me. But if they didn't, I'll look it up.
They have not.
Gavin DeGraw, 48, Clint Black, 63, and Lawrence Taylor is 66. I still wouldn't want to get tackled by him.
If you had asked me who's older, Clinton Black or Lawrence Taylor, I think I would have... Keith Richard is who you're looking for.
That's the name of it.
And that came from the chat line. Thank you. If you'd asked me who's older, Lawrence Taylor or Clinton Black, I think I would have said, without question, Clint Black.
I mean, he was class of 88 for country music. He's what started the class of 89 when everybody was looking for
he's been around for a long time. I realized, you know.
I don't know where I would have gone with that. They're close, obviously, 63 versus 66. So I don't know where I would have fallen on that category of which one I would have thought was older.
Jamie, do you have an opinion on that?
I have no clue how old Clint Black is. I would have known. I know he's a country singer. I wouldn't know what he looked like if he walked in the door.
Oh, okay.
I really don't know.
He'd probably be wearing a cowboy hat. That would just be my guess.
Okay. Okay. I don't know. I say that. I might, if you put 3 or 4 country singers, I think I'm that are the famous ones like that, I probably could figure out which one is which, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you if he was 56 or 66.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on this day, 1938, Disney releases Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Walt Disney's decision to make Snow White, which was the first animated feature to be produced in English and in Technicolor, flew in the face of the popular wisdom at the time. Naysayers, including his wife Lillian, warned him that the audiences, specifically adults, wouldn't sit through a feature-length cartoon fantasy about dwarfs. But Disney put his future on the line, borrowing most of the $1.5 million in 1938 to be used to make the film. Snow White premiered in Hollywood in 1937, earning a standing ovation from the star-studded crowd. When it was released to the public the following February, the film quickly grossed $8 million. Again, 1938. What are we in the middle of? The Great Depression, when nobody had money. Staggering sum for that film. And that is This Day in Sports History.
This Day in Sports History, 6:51 this morning, here on the Morning Drive. I was trying to figure out how much that is today.
$1.5 million loan in 1930.
It's $22 million today. $22 million. $1 million in 1938 is equivalent to, in purchasing power, of about $22,383,333.33. That's incredible. I mean, if you've ever seen any of those Disney stuff on the History Channel, especially this particular episode with regard to Snow White, I mean, when Jeff says he mortgaged everything, I mean, even against the advice of his brother, who was his financial guy, and his family, and I mean, he pushed it all to the center. So, you know, for a guy that obviously came up with a lot of entertainment and then died relatively young because of his smoking and things along those lines. It paid off for him.
I do think it's funny. In every Disney picture, you see Walt pointing with 2 fingers. The reason he's pointing with 2 fingers is because they have digitally erased the cigarette that he's holding while he's pointing.
Really?
Yes. In every one of those pictures, he almost constantly had a cigarette in his hand.
That's
so
crazy.
when he's pointing at things, there's a cigarette that they have erased in that picture.
I had no idea.
I didn't either. I had no idea.
And it might not be every picture ever, but it's like 85% of the pictures in Disney's vault have been cleaned.
Cleaned?
To get rid of the cigarette.
Because they didn't want that image, I guess. 6:53 this morning here on the Morning Drive. All right, let me ask you this real quick with regard to the NBA and with regard to college basketball on the men's side. Would you like it to go to quarters?
I don't have a problem with the way it is now in halves. I like the women's game with quarters, but it doesn't bother me one way or the other.
I mean, really, the men are the only ones. I mean, you think about the NBA, internationally.
I like that the men shoot 1-and-1 free throws.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah. I knew that, and I wouldn't necessarily want to change that. But at any rate, it's just interesting that the men on the NCAA side, you look at international basketball, you look at the NBA, high school, nobody plays halves. Everybody plays quarters. But they'd have to come up with how they're going to get all their TV timeouts in, too.
Yeah. I mean, technically, Lady Raiders still do have halves.
Well, they do, but you play quarters, right?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
You play quarters, 4 quarters.
I was being silly, Chuck.
I know, but I think it makes end of game, end of quarter.
Yeah,
all those plays. It makes it exciting. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if.
Well, it's 2 other, like buzzer beating times.
Sure.
Right, at the end of the quarter.
Yeah, you have 4 instead of 2.
End of the first and end of the third.
Yep. 6:54 this morning here on the Morning Drive. We'll continue. We'll get some basketball as the men are on the floor tonight against Baylor. We'll have the game for you at 7, tip at 8 here on Double T 97.3.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie's question of the day comes up at 7:30. Jerry Palm is who I was getting ready to talk to you about. Jerry Palm's latest bracketology is out, and he has the Red Raiders at a 5 seed in the West, taking on the 12 seed Samford. See, that's when you kind of have those opportunities where you don't have to. I mean, I realize that Samford has a real team and all that kind of stuff, and whether you're going to play them or not. But when you're a 5 seed playing a 12, not that you can relax, but the odds are more in favor of you in those first-round games versus the 8-9 where you were like a week ago. And then having to face the number 1 team, because in this case, the winner of the 5-12 plays the winner of the 4-13, and the winner, in that case, it could be Memphis, who you would face if the seed's held, according to this bracketology. Okay?
Okay.
Joe Lunardi, his bracketology is not out yet, but he released yesterday that he has Tech as a 4 seed in the Midwest. Okay? So you're starting to move up a little bit, and it just, obviously the higher the seed you are, the lesser the competition you're going to play early on, and it keeps you away from playing, the 1 and the 2 seed quickly. Mm-hmm. So, those make for longer stays in the NCAA tournament. So, anyway, that's what you have there. Tech will take on Baylor tonight. We'll have it for you at 7, play-by-play at 8 o'clock this evening. All right, a couple more things.
I think it's really interesting at this point to be looking at the seeding of where the Red Raiders, where they seed them, as far as are they a 6 seed, a 3 seed, a 4 seed, whatever. I still think I'm at the point where I'm not looking at the matchups because there's just so much that can happen between now and then.
Sure.
But I definitely have enjoyed seeing the Red Raiders climb. It feels like over a 2-week stretch you've gone from a 6 seed to a 3 seed.
Yeah.
It's been nice to see.
So you'll only play Baylor tonight. You won't play them in Waco. This is a casualty of adding teams to the Big 12. You're going to play 20 games. Should Baylor be a team that you play twice every year, regardless of, and then you work your strength of schedule around that?
That would be one that I would feel like is a rival to the Red Raiders that they would want to play twice.
Mm-hmm. TCU twice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oklahoma State twice.
Yep.
What about Houston?
I'd be in favor of that.
Okay. And then I guess if you're looking north, you'd say
I think
Iowa State, Kansas State should all play each other twice.
Sure.
Cincinnati, West Virginia play each other twice. UCF in that same boat too.
I know it's impossible probably to mix all those things together perfectly, but I would tell you the 3 schools in the state of Texas in the Big 12, those are the 3 that I think you should play twice every year just to get started.
Okay. And then
add Oklahoma State to the mix if you can.
And then like Arizona State play each other twice.
Sure.
Utah and BYU play each other twice.
They should play each other every week. It's so entertaining. They just dislike each other so much. It's fun.
Here's Grant McCasland on playing Baylor just once due to expansion. 7:19 this morning here on the morning drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Somebody says this, never liked the 5 seed. The 5-12 matchup is one of the most common upsets in the tournament. Okay, well.
That is the one that everybody says you got to avoid, the 5. Yeah, the 5.
Yeah, here's...
and when you're filling out your bracket, you're supposed to pick a 12 over a 5.
I guess so.
It's like you're contractually obligated to do it.
Okay, so maybe I missed on that one. But I'd still like. I'd rather you be a 5 than an 8 or a 9.
I'd rather you be a 5 than a 6. I'll play the fact that I expect you to be better.
Yeah. Here's Coach McCasland on playing Baylor just once due to expansion.
Man, honestly, I try not to think too much about who we're playing other than how do we beat them. I think probably for somebody else to talk about. I'm not smart enough to figure it all out. I got enough brain just to figure out how we can get our team together. I do think these rivalries are important in college basketball, and I think playing is important. But knowing that it's Coach Drew, who I consider a great friend, it is difficult to say, hey, I wish we played twice. Honestly, I want to play the toughest schedule, and we got to continue to push ourselves to play against the best teams, and that's how you improve the most. And they're one of the best teams in the country, so I can see why everyone would want to see us play.
In addition to, we don't like Baylor, Coach. I realize he's your friend, but generally speaking, green and gold is not a common color here in Lubbock.
I would really like for Coach McCasland to have the same attitude about his non-conference schedule.
I knew you were going to bring that up as soon as he said that. He's like, play the toughest teams, like, November, December, we're pretty light, Coach.
I don't want that. I don't want him to play a murderer's row. I just want something with a little more meat in the non-conference.
With the pulse.
Yeah.
Yeah, something a little more with a pulse. All right, so he said, he's only got enough brain space to worry about who you're playing. So game plan versus Baylor. Here's Coach McCasland.
Ultimately, it starts with your ability to guard and transition defense and keep them out of the paint and make them uncomfortable as you can, even though they've got a lot of talent at the guard spots, and then finish it with rebounding so you can run in transition. I don't think it gets any farther than that. And they do turn people over this year more than they have in the past. So because of the switching, how do you take care of the basketball?
Yeah, so they're in Big 12 play, it's about 2 turnovers a ball game. But, that makes it, 2 possessions, right?
Yeah, could be
a difference.
Could be 6 points.
Yeah. Baylor in the first half of play has been outscored by a point. In the second half, they've been better. They've outscored their opponent by 47 points in the second half. So halftime adjustments speak to good coaching, right? And Scott Drew, arguably one of the best in the business, and having coachable players. They make about 8 threes a game. They only allow about 7 threes a game. So maybe 3-point defense could be, a big factor in the ball game tonight for both teams, Jamie.
I would think so. We talk about it a lot, how important the 3-point shot is. So you have to find a way to not only make them yourself, but try to keep the other team from hitting easy ones as well.
The Red Raiders in Big 12 play are averaging 8.7, so give them 9. They're giving up 5.5, so give the opponent 6. So, if you're outscoring teams by, three pointers, then you're doing a pretty good job. Both you're getting to the free throw line about the same as your opponent. You make 14, your opponent makes 15. Your opponent's got 15 more attempts than you do in Big 12 play. You'd like to think at home you're going to get a few more attempts than you would normally would on the road. Doesn't always work out like that, but you'd like to think that. The other advantage you have, just kind of keep this in mind for tonight if you're going to the game or watching or listening, you outscore your Big 12 opponents by 35 points in the first half.
Okay.
376 to 341.
Getting off to a good start.
And then this makes a lot of sense. You outscore them in the second half as well. The margin is 48 points in the second half.
Okay.
So, again, you talk about halftime adjustments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Puts you in a pretty good spot. Talked about how Baylor, couple of, basket here, basket there, and they could have a couple of more wins. I mean, you look at the Red Raiders, you get a stop against Iowa State, you play a little bit better defense in regulation, you get a win there. And then you look at that first game against UCF, in which you lost 87-83, you play a little bit better defense, and maybe you come out with a win there. But sometimes those losses allow you to coach your team a little bit harder or a little bit better, and you grow from them. As
a little bit of a wake-up call, maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially the UCF game.
Yeah.
But the Iowa State game, I mean, he called out his team on, hey, the look in the eye of the Iowa State guys was they were going to win, and we were hoping to win.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, guys. Today is the day we've been waiting for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
We find out your Red Raider football schedule today, along with the rest of the teams in the Big 12 Conference, if you care to look over theirs as well. So what time is it? 11 o'clock? 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So right in the middle of the end of the bench, those boys will break it down for you. My question for you guys today is I want you to tell me one thing you want to see today and one thing you don't want to see today.
Okay.
When that schedule comes out.
I don't want to see a home game the Friday or Saturday after Thanksgiving.
It's a good one.
Okay. I do want to see a bye week on either the 20th or the 27th of September. I don't have anything scheduled yet, but I have something that I'd like to schedule internally around one of those 2 weekends. Okay? So I'm being selfish. Selfish.
We're not trying to help the team. We're trying to help Chuck. Okay.
Well, I mean, help one of our other stations. I was thinking about something yesterday, and I'm like, we could do that, but or it could either be the 20th, the 27th, or the first weekend in October. One of those 3 weekends, I'd like a bye week so that we could have an event somewhere else. Okay.
Okay, Jeff.
You only want one, and that's the hard part for me, because there's 2 things I want to see, and I don't know which one I want more. I want Oklahoma State desperately to do the last home game of the year. I desperately want that to be every year.
I think that's a good idea.
That's what I want, and I know that's after Thanksgiving. That's when I want that game. I want that the last week before the Big 12 championship gets going the week after. But that's more of a Big 12 thing to set that up, like as a permanent setting, and that we're not there yet. So,
do we even know that we're going to play them every year?
No, but that's
the hard part.
That's the other part of this. That we've got Oklahoma State, so that it could be there. But I want that Oklahoma State the last game of the week, last game of the year. The thing I don't want the most is a trip to Utah in November.
Okay,
that's what I don't want to see the most of anything. the other don'ts or whatever. You've got your schedule for your opponents and homes and away. I would like not to go that place that cold that late.
I thought you were going to say K-State because they always seem to be playing better.
I don't want to see K-State on the schedule at all.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with there, here, moon, doesn't matter. Don't want to see it at all. But they're there. I can't help that. I don't want to go to Utah in November.
Okay, so I'm totally going to cheat, and it's kind of what Jeff said, and it's adding to what Chuck just said.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see the Red Raiders play any of the teams that are in cold weather states in November.
Okay.
So I'm adding West Virginia, I'm adding K-State, and we'll throw Utah in there as well. Okay? I think that's very unlikely. If I had to choose just one, I would say I do not want to play at Kansas State in November. Okay? If I could move one to earlier in the season, it would be that one. What I do want to see is I want the road trip to Houston to be the first game out of the chute in the Big 12. So
because you feel like they get better as the season goes on, or you want an easy one? I want
to ease into a road game. I want a road game because you're starting with 3 home games.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ease into Big 12 play, kind of ramp it up. Although Oregon State might be better than Houston, but before you really get going, I don't want a super tough one just right off the bat to begin with.
What if I could tell you could play K-State right away, so you didn't have to avoid them playing and gaining momentum as the season goes on?
No, that's that. I mean, there's some truth to that.
Seems like they get better as the season goes on.
A lot of times. I don't know that I would have said that last year.
Okay, yeah.
Would you have?
No,
but that's been what they have in the past.
Feels that way, right?
But they weren't in 2024.
Yeah, feels that way. I do like well, I don't want it to be the Friday or Saturday after Thanksgiving. Again, that's selfish. I do like your idea of having Oklahoma State being the last home game. I think because you played at home last year, the Saturday or Friday after Thanksgiving, I think you're going to be, what's the Saturday? I think you're going to be on the road this year. The Saturday after Thanksgiving, or the Friday, depending on how it works. Somebody says they saw a Twitter leak that Oklahoma State is October the 25th. How does that happen?
How does the leak happen?
You don't think that the people at Texas Tech know right now? They do. They do. They got a lot of people in that athletic department.
You're right.
They've probably had this schedule for a week.
Yeah.
No, I don't think a week, but I think
you know how many hotel rooms they got to book?
I can just tell you this: the primary hotel here in town, which is a corporate sponsor of Texas Tech, I got an email from them on Friday from the Overton. They don't know yet. They don't know the schedule yet. So there have been times when I've given them the schedule after it's been released. So they don't have the schedule yet.
They don't have the internet over there at the Overton?
No, but I mean, I try to help them out. Yeah, they have the internet, but I mean, I try to.
I'm more nice of a hotel as that is. I would think they have really good Wi-Fi there.
They do, but I mean, I try to help them out.
I'm more talking about the team getting hotel rooms for when they're on the road.
Well, that's the one that's next door to us, the MCM.
No. When they're going to Utah, they've got to get hotels in Utah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Those are the I bet they've got that schedule.
I'm just saying. I think that.
I don't know.
I would have guessed that at the very least yesterday they had the schedule.
Apparently,
they've got to make their. I mean, the minute it's announced, there's going to be a graphic that comes out from Texas Tech Creative.
Right. You're right.
They know.
Yeah, you're right.
And so all the people that are involved in all these different schools, you don't think it's surprising to you that there's a leak?
Best way to keep it secret. Don't tell anybody. Second best way, tell one other person. That is the end of the list.
I've told you before that I've been gullible and naive, so you're right. No, you're absolutely right.
And I would say that I've been told before that I don't trust people and I don't have a high enough value of or belief in people's character. I just think that's common.
Yeah.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
thank you for being with us today on Double T 97.3 and DoubleT973.com. Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Come to you from the First United Bank studio. Look forward to hearing from you today on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to DoubleT973.com for that, of the mobile app. Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. You can go to DoubleTSportsNetwork.com and check out interesting articles, tidbits, previews, things along those lines, including one I saw last night, Jamie, with Joel Falani, the former Red Raider. He's going to hook up with Graham Harrell and Keith Patterson at Abilene Christian University.
Yeah, that's great news to see them all together. And obviously we think highly of Coach Falani, so good luck. It's awesome.
Yep, he had...
catching some more passes from Graham, I'm sure. It's like he did in the Insight Bowl.
I would guess that Falani probably can't run as fast, and Graham probably still has a pretty good arm, but probably can't zip it like he could in 2008. But they still would probably make for a pretty good duo on flag football or some kind of backyard football kind of deal, or maybe even every once in a while being able to show the ACU guys, this is how it's done.
Maybe so.
Because Falani, while he may not be fleet of foot, he probably can still run a route.
Just show him the video package of the Insight Bowl.
We don't need to show you on the field. We're going to show you in the film room, okay? This is how it is. Falani was here with Matt Wells and did not stay when Coach Joey McGuire took over. So since then, he's been at Northern Arizona and Northern Iowa. So you hope it sticks, but that's kind of the coaching profession, isn't it? I mean, it's those guys got to jump from spot to spot to spot, and it is what
feels
it
like
is.
His path has been a pretty normal one, pretty typical one.
Yeah, and same thing with Graham Harrell. I mean, he's been around lots of different places too, but you'd like to see him have some success as well. Mm-hmm. And maybe they feel like, hey, we had success, it just didn't work out. Because that can be the case too. You can coach players up, and your individual players can have good years, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, I saw that and I thought that was interesting. I saw this article in the AJ this morning. I'll pose this question to you, Jamie. Not that you can lose the last 10 games, but do you think Texas Tech is and maybe so, maybe you are you a lock right now for the NCAA tournament?
I mean, you probably can't lose out, but I mean, I can't imagine that you would find a way out of the tournament at this point. Is that even a question to anybody? I mean, like, we're like...
No, I think it was just just an opinion is what it was, just a... Okay.
I mean, so... I'm telling you, if we lose out and get in, I'm not going to be, like, super excited. Like, right. Okay, here we go.
You would be 17-14, and you would be 8-12 in the Big 12.
Yeah, I don't know. You probably can't get in then.
No.
Yeah. Probably not. Probably not.
Can't lose your last 10.
You've got one really, really good win with Houston. You've got one really, really good loss in Iowa State in overtime at home.
What about Arizona?
You've got an Arizona win.
That's a good win.
You also have the UCF loss. I mean, you've got
probably a postseason team. It's not that bad. It's not great. Don't get me wrong, but yeah.
And then nothing in your non-conference to help you out.
Well, we put it on Syracuse, and they're like, they win like 1 out of every 4 games. So. By put it on, I mean edged by what, 2 or 1 or.
Now, if you don't lose out, but let's say you win 4 games of that's left. So you go, what, 500? No,
that'd be 4 and 6.
4 and 6. 4 and 6, I think you're in, because that's a 21-win season.
That's a 12-8 compared to 8-12.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a big. big, massive difference.
All right, so I'm just going to read the order of where the standings are.
If we do end up losing our last 10, I know I'm blaming it on Chuck.
No, it's the AJ's fault. They're the ones that put the story.
And you brought it to our airwaves.
God help us if we do that. So I'm gonna here's kind of where the standings are right now. You got Houston, Arizona at 9-1. Obviously they're in. Texas Tech's a game behind, 8-2. Obviously in. Iowa State, Kansas, BYU, Baylor are all at 6-4. So 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay. Now, tell me who's in right now. If the season ended right now, would West Virginia 5-5 at 14-7 be in?
They've got a couple of big wins.
They do.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That leads me to believe they would get in.
Okay. And then after that, so that's 8 teams. So you're going to tell me, in with work to do, UCF, Utah, TCU, Kansas State, all of those teams are 4-6 in the Big 12.
I would say not in right now.
Yeah. They at least have to go 6-4 in the second half, right?
Mm-hmm. To get to 10-10 in conference play.
Yeah, to get to a point where they would be considered or be on the bubble or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
There's probably no hope for Arizona State, Oklahoma State, or Cincinnati, because Oklahoma State and Arizona State are both 3-7. Cincinnati's 2-8, and Colorado, they're just trying to figure out how to get a win in the Big 12.
Yeah, they have work to do to get it.
Man, I got to tell you, I don't know. I mean, it's a beautiful place, Boulder, Colorado, but in terms of like arena amenities and stuff like that, man, that'd be a lousy place to have to go every night to watch a basketball game. Because if you're like kind of a front row Joe person, you've got the means to be able to buy seats behind the bench. I mean, those aisles are the rows are wide, and you got to walk all the way to the top to get yourself a cold drink or go to the bathroom. It's a long walk up there, especially in elevation. It'd be like, it's a major butt ache to be able to go to one of those games and then have to sit through their 0-10 season. Their field house it's nothing, man. It is nothing. The CU Event Center. They got nothing going on with it.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.